Hello, my name's Michael. I'm doing a response video to Wade Dewell. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. If not, please leave a message so that in future videos I can actually use your correct name. Anyway, it's a recording, a response about the Resident Evil live action series. A series which was based on the Resident Evil games made by Capcom. In the live-action series, which was directed by W.S. Anderson, a guy I've never heard of. I think he made... No, I can't remember. Anyway, this live-action series, the main star is Milla Jovovich, and she plays a character called Alice.
Alice! Who the fuck is Alice?
Now, I took a clip from the song, but I think it describes what I'm trying to convey, because who's Alice? I played Resident Evil 1, 2, 3 and a little bit of 4, and I don't believe she's in Resident Evil 5 or 6. In fact, I'm pretty sure she's not in any Resident Evil game ever made. So, who the fuck is Alice? So anyway, I'm going to go through the films, and bear with me, I'm using the Wikipedia entry for the movies because a lot of them, quite frankly, are instantly forgettable. And I think you'll understand by the end of this review, and I think Wade will be pleased because everything he said was right. So, let us look at the original movie, Resident Evil, which was released 2002. Approximately 12 years ago, and every single film has issues, in my opinion. So let's just look at the first one. Now, in the first one, you've got Alice, and you've got a group of, I think, people working for the Umbrella Corporation, hired hands or mercenary, and they go into something called the Hive. Now, in the Hive, there's a computer called the Red Queen, and there's been a release of the T-virus because, as you see at the beginning, some dude gets hold of one of the vials and he basically drops it on the ground and he legs it out of the building. And people start to become zombies because it's, I suppose you call it, it's a pathogen which you can inhale. And so people start going mad and, killing each other. So the computer, being probably the only logical thing that you'll see in this whole bloody series of films, basically clocks the place down because you've got this virus that's turning people into zombies, and it thinks to itself, don't know why Firefox wants to upgrade, but fuck off. Anyway, it thinks that the best thing to do is to wipe out the pathogen, using fire, standard procedure. Use a very, very high fire and you can pretty much burn everything. Almost. So, it basically kills off all the humans or zombie things and locks it down. So these humans, or what I would call retards, turn up to try and find out what went wrong. So, they go through the place, you get it's the only time you get any form of tension. So, looking around, you've got this, the jump tactics, which are well known from the Resident Evil games. So far, so good. And they get to the Red Queen computer, artificial intelligence, and they turn it off. And before they turn it off, the Red Queen says, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And they're like, oh, fuck you, we know what we're doing. So they turn off the computer, all the power, and then turn it back on, and if the computer had a body, it would facepalm itself, because it's like, do you know what you've just done? You had just turned off the power to the whole building. You do realise that all the security locks are now open, and they're like, what do you mean? This base is full of people with the T-virus. What do you think they're going to do? And so suddenly it dawns on them, oh fuck, you mean that we've now got an army of zombies? And so they spend the rest of the film basically fighting off zombies. But it's not Resident Evil, in my opinion, because it becomes live action. Now, admittedly, in the later games, there is the action element, but a lot of purists would complain that that wasn't Resident Evil. Resident Evil is the fear of the unknown, and the fear of the unknown is the fear of what you can't see. So, you hear zombies, but you don't know where they are. And so, and also you have a lack of ammo. You don't have guns with almost infinite bullets that just seem to go on and on and on. You've got a handgun with maybe 15 bullets for the whole game. And so you have to bludgeon the zombies because you don't know when you're next going to find any bullets. And you only use the bullets if you have to. If a zombie's far enough away and you know that you can basically aim for the head and kill them in a couple of bullets, you do. Nah, not in this film. So in the film, they're basically, blasting away back to the surface. And there's a guy, which his name is Matt, according to this, who is infected. He's bitten or something. And they get to the surface, and there's a typical sort of close encounters of the third kind type environment. They've got all these, these tents to secure the area to make sure the T-virus doesn't get out. Someone should explain to them this is not AIDS. This is like some pathogen that is airborne. But these retards don't know that. And so they get back to the surface after a series of battles. And Matt gets taken away. And there's Alice, losing her shit. And he says, this one could be useful. The Nemesis Project. Nemesis. Where have I heard that before? So that's the end of the first film. Now, in Resident Evil Apocalypse, which came out 2 years afterwards, I don't know how it works, but apparently, as we could have predicted, airborne, the virus gets into the local town. So you got hundreds, possibly thousands, even more, excuse me, of people being infected. And we get introduced to Jill Valentine. Now, apparently Jill Valentine, she was on the police force and, I don't know, something happened and, I don't know, she's no longer working for... Well, she's working for the police force, but for some reason she's got some history, which is barely alluded to. So, but anyway, so she's, she's got the attitude. And, what was it? According to this, that they rescue someone called... Alice rescues Jill and Peyton from a group of lickers. I didn't know they were called lickers. It's not like they walk up to go... But apparently that's what they do. Now, in my opinion, I have a problem with this film, and it reflects the whole series, because Jill is a very strong, she is an accomplished police person, or officer, and, she can kick ass. But, whatever she does, or whatever anyone else does, Alice has to top her. So you basically got, Jill kicking people's ass, fighting. She comes up against a group of zombies and she just about beats them. And then Alice comes along and has to top her. Whatever she does, Alice has to do better. And that, in my opinion, reflects the entire series. Why does Alice have to be the hero? I mean, I'll give you an example. If you look at the average series, and I'll use an example with, say, Lord of the Rings. In the first two films, Samwise Gamgee, Frodo's gardener, doesn't really do a lot. It's not about them. It's about other people. It's about the fact that each person has their own path to walk. They have their own history. And they get a moment in the limelight. They can be the hero. Aragorn and... Pippin and Merry have the moment of glory in the Two Towers, where they fight alongside the army at Helm's Deep. And even though they're contribution isn't great, they get something. They can say that they, in their own way, contributed to the war. In the third film, Frodo gets captured by the spider, and Samwise basically, he doesn't defeat it, but he fends off the spider, and he saves his friend. He goes up and he kills a load of these orcs, and he finds his friend, and he gives him back the ring. The point is, every single character has a moment of glory in that series. Not in Resident Evil. No one outdoes Alice. Alice has to be the best of everything. And I have a problem with that, because if you have something on a worldwide scale, like the different viruses which were produced by the Umbrella Corporation, which for some reason is the largest corporation in the world, I think they're trying to imply that big companies are evil by nature. So anyway, eventually they meet up with Nemesis. Now, in the game, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the Nemesis character is indestructible. You cannot defeat it. It haunts you. It taunts you. It can kill you at any time. But it keeps you alive because you're entertainment to it in some weird way. And so the whole game, you're scared, frightened of the Nemesis. But not in the films. No. I mean, the Nemesis kills a few creatures, fair enough. And then at the end, you have a one-on-one between Alice and the Nemesis. And the Nemesis loses. And loses badly. He's punked. He's made to look like a bitch. Am I the only one who thinks there's a continuity problem here? How can you have in the game a creature that's so powerful that it taunts you, but in the film series it's just a slightly better zombie? I don't understand. Now, apparently Alice gets wounded. I can't remember why. They try to nuke the Raccoon City, and Alice gets wounded. And apparently, while she's asleep, someone called Dr. Sam Isaac clones her, and she awakes and she escapes the establishment. And then suddenly she's got superpowers, because there's a scene near the end, and there's some guy looking at her through some camera, and she's able to look through the camera and somehow cause his eyes to bleed, etc. She suddenly become like Superwoman. So I suppose from now I will refer to her as Super Alice. And so anyway, Jill and this dude called Carlos, who apparently who disguised himself as Umbrella employees to try and save her, leave. It's completely forgettable. So anyway, in Resident Evil Extinction, they start driving across some deserts, and they come across what looks like a gas station, and so you got the usual try and shock you tactics, except that I've seen it before. It doesn't work. Don't care. I think she gets captured by a bunch of savages or cannibals or something. So anyway, you have the usual fights, and in there's a bunch of ravens that appear, I think. I can't remember. And they make their way to Las Vegas, where for some reason there's a bunch of massive storage units, and a load of zombies come out, people die, blah blah blah, boring. She sends Claire and Kmart. Well, she's got a friend that's a supermarket, to Alaska, and she makes her way somewhere else. So anyway, let's get this shit out of the way. So Resident Evil Afterlife, which apparently occurs in Tokyo, And I think it's this one where you see these zombies being tested to see if they got the same powers as Alice. And of course they all die, and you see this massive pile of clones of Alice outside the facility where there's a bunch of zombies all going food, food. And anyway, by then I just wanted to get these out of the way, because I promised a friend I'd watch all the Resident Evil films, including the Capcom ones. And by the fourth film, I really didn't care. I just wanted to get these films out of the way, because the first film was okay. Just okay. It wasn't Resident Evil, but I could see what they were trying to do. At the beginning, they had the suspense, and then it turned into just aliens. But by the fourth movie, it was just getting boring. Alice is, trying to outdo everyone. She seems to be able. She has this arsenal of moves, which no one else has, and they don't really explain why it is that she seems to have this military training. They probably do, but I just don't remember. That's how forgettable they are. So anyway, they go to Japan. They go, for some reason, they go down into some facility. I can't even remember why they went there, but they detonate a mini nuclear bomb. And so, after fighting their way down to do whatever it is they had to do, I can't remember or care, they fight their way back up. They see this bomb. They escape at the last moment. And they might as well just call this zombie aliens, and be done with it, because it's not Resident Evil. And you see this blue explosion because, it's Umbrella, they had to do things differently. And so, I think it's this movie. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in this movie where, they inject Alice with some virus, which basically disables the T-virus. And I'm thinking to myself, if you can do that, why are you not doing that? Why are you not injecting all these zombies with the same thing? Don't they have a right to live, or do they all have to die? It makes no sense. So Alice loses all her powers at the beginning, and then, yeah. So anyway, let's go into the last film of the live-action series. So apparently they've been captured in Arcadia. Apparently Alice experiences what seems to be a lengthy dream sequence or a hallucination. In this sequence, she is the wife of Carlos Oliveira and has a deaf daughter named Becky. Blah, blah, blah. Now, in the previous film, I think at the end they go up to Alaska. Well, it could be this one. It all blurs into one. And, she kicks ass and saves them from... Oh, I can't remember. So anyway, we'll go back to the fifth film, which was completely unforgettable as well. The only thing that stuck in my mind in that film, it turns out that they were not just making clones of Alice. They were making clones of all the different people. So there was a line of... we'll call them Prototype A, Prototype B, etc. So they fight through there, and this is the film where we finally get to see Barry Burton. And he seems a little bit underwhelming. This is not the Barry Burton from the original Resident Evil. I mean, fair enough. In my opinion, you can't really have a go at the films of terrible dialogue when the original film had lines like, "Oh, you nearly became a Jill sandwich." So it's not like the original material had good screenplay or dialogue. But the film made Barry look like a peripheral character who was just there to, be shot and killed. I mean, Leon Kennedy appears, and Luther West. I don't know who Luther West is. But, of course, Jill has to be the main part, and it's her and some little girl, and they go for some zombie plays. I think she has to rescue someone, I can't remember, because I don't care, and apparently there's a new queen, artificial intelligence, who wants her dead, blah, blah, blah. Jill is something happens to Jill where she joins the Umbrella, and Jill and Alice has an epic fight, which of course Alice wins, and then they escape in a helicopter with Wesker, and Wesker injects her in the neck with a virus again. And of course, like anyone, if someone stuck a needle in your neck, you'd want to know what the fuck is going on. And he says, I'm giving you your powers back. As if the virus is something you can switch on and off at will. And the weird thing is that what would have happened if Alice just died? Of course it wouldn't, because, you know, her husband's directed the films. And for some illogical reason, he likes to see her naked as much as possible. Fair enough. I mean, you know, you're married to the woman. If you really want to see her naked, just go into her room and shag her senseless and get it over and done with. But no, he likes to see her naked, and he wants everyone else to see how beautiful she is, or he perceives her to be. So anyway, they're at the end of the fifth film, they're at the White House, and there's a ridiculous amount of zombies outside the White House, and I heard that they were going to end it. And so when I saw that, I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, I'm going to make another of these films. Big Dan, don't take this personal. I am not watching that. I've had enough of this series. The films are shit. The first film was tolerable, and after the first film, every film afterwards was just intolerable. And I'm not even talking... Yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson. But anyway, I'm not even talking about it from the point of view of someone that's a huge fan of Resident Evil. I'm just talking about the films from a film-based perspective. The films were predictable. I thought that Alice hogged the limelight too much. There is no other character. They're just there to make up the numbers, because they don't want it to be implausible, i.e. Alice fights everyone all the time. But the series is bad. Now afterwards I watched the two Capcom-based movies, and in my opinion they're not much better than the live-action films. Apparently a lot of people think that the Capcom, or the not live-action, the animated film were considerably better. But in my opinion, they had the same problems. You had all the fast action fighting sequences which we associate with Resident Evil, well, 4, 5 and 6. But I did not see anything that resembled the original games. There were moments where you had the jump tactics, the suspense, which, quite frankly, the original Alien movie did far better than the live-action films or the animated ones. They were aliens rather than alien, if that makes sense. Because in Aliens there's a lot of fast action sequences, lots of people fighting the aliens, and they copied that. They didn't copy Resident Evil. So in my opinion, it's not just bad. It's really bad. I mean, we're talking the type of bad that even directors like Uwe Boll would go, what have you done to this series of games? Even Uwe Boll would just think, you know what, I'm not releasing this, it's so bad. Even I can't justify this to the fans. So anyway, I just thought I'd give my point of view. I basically agree with everything Wade Dewell said about the series. I really hope they don't make another film. They will, because they're not too expensive to make, and they don't need to make a lot of profit. And somehow, this Paul W.S. Anderson, I think he must be screwing the producer or something, because any other person would say to him, stop making his films. I mean, an example. An original Tomb Raider, the movie, was made without a script. Let that sink in. It was made without a script. They actually made the script on the fly. And that film is a masterpiece compared to these films. They have more elements from Tomb Raider than the entire series has of Resident Evil. They are not Resident Evil films. They should never have been called Resident Evil movies. And if they were going to make Resident Evil films, they should have at least had a character who was in the series be the lead, not some random new person. And apparently, to top it off, in the next Resident Evil game, there will be a character called Alice. So Capcom are now adapting the game series to meld in with the films. Capcom, I know you're a bunch of whores, but if you make a game with Alice, not only will I not buy it, I think you will find that it is the lowest selling game of all time in the Resident Evil series. No one wants Alice. No one gives a fuck about Alice. Don't do it. Anyway, that's my opinion.